Guys, congratulations to everyone who's just sat the Leaving Cert chemistry exam. I hope everyone's really happy with the paper. My overall thoughts of the exam before I dive into it properly is I thought it was a very fair exam. I think there was a few tricky questions here and there, but there was a really nice mix of theory, calculations, and it definitely rewarded the students who did a lot of practice on exam questions. And for anybody who had prioritised organic chemistry, you were rewarded in multiple places in your exam. Look, overall, I think there was some really lovely choice in the chemistry paper for this year. If you were someone who's good at stoichiometry, you could have picked loads of questions to show off your skills in that. But equally, it really rewarded those people who were good at the theory, organic chemistry, and all those kind of content-heavy chapters. But let's dive into the paper. Okay, so first of all, Section A was the hero of this exam. I said you guys are going to get the iron tablet titration. I said it was that one or the iodine thiosulfate. I know a lot of people speculated if it was going to appear because it was on the deferred paper, but thankfully we got it as our titration question, which was lovely. Nice straightforward procedure questions. I had some students asking what was the answer for where they said if there was inefficient acid present, what would be observed. So we would see that a brown precipitate may form, and that's because the Mn7 plus manganese did not fully reduce to the Mn2 plus oxidation state. So that's what you would have observed. Oh my God, I was so happy to see clove oil was your full question 2 for organic chemistry. And this is something I would have told students throughout the year to make sure this is a priority, and I'm so glad it came up as a full experiment question. State of use for eugenol, so you could say something like antiseptics, perfumes, anything like that. I thought the calculation was nice. We normally do expect to see percentage yield and theoretical yield for this experiment, so that's something that students would have practiced a lot. This was a little bit unexpected, the question 3 to be based on the effect of a catalyst. I think any student who would have practiced their graphing skills would have found this question quite straightforward and repetitive like other years, and also just if they had a solid understanding about the effect of a catalyst on the rate of reaction. We then had lovely short questions in my opinion. Mendeleev. I said Mendeleev was going to be on your exam. Now I'm kind of sad that he wasn't a bigger feature, but look, we got him in the short questions, that's fine. Describing his arrangement, so his elements were in order of increasing atomic weight. And he grouped them according to having similar chemical properties. Writing SPD notation, lovely. Calculate empirical formula. That's a calculation that I would have emphasised is very common in question 4, so it's lovely to get it again. Question 5, as predicted, mass spectrometry made an appearance here again. That was your name, your analytical instrument that you'd use to determine the percentage abundant of isotopes. The definition that comes up on most chemistry papers, what is the relative atomic mass of an element? Relatively straightforward SPD notation, a definition again that we see time and time again, atomic orbital. And then in the last section they brought in your periodic trends, all about the atomic radii. Question 6, your fuels and heats of reaction. Pretty much the same questions that we get every single year. Name the instrument that we use to accurately measure the heat of combustion. That was your bomb calorimeter, another prediction I made for your question 6 of this year. Question 7 was very favourable to do. Explain how an acid differs from a base according to Bronsted-Lowry. So an acid is a proton donor and a base is a proton acceptor. And explaining how a strong acid is different to a weak acid. So a strong acid has a strong tendency of donating the proton, whereas a weak acid has a poor tendency of donating the proton. The calculations surrounding the ionic product war can be a little bit tricky, but they kept it nice and short, and then they brought it straight into your pH curves, which a lot of students would have practiced. For once, I actually thought question 8 was really fair this year. So your substitution reaction was C, because that's where we're doing esterification. Your oxidation reaction, what I told a lot of my students is, if you think about alcohol, if you leave alcohol out overnight, it'll oxidize and it'll eventually oxidize to a carboxylic acid. Your oxidation would have been ethanol to ethanoic acid, and then the reduction reaction was going from the aldehyde back to the alcohol. In the homologous series to which ethanol belongs to, that's our aldehydes. And identify the reagent and transition metal catalyst used to convert ethanol to ethanol. So for reduction, we always need nickel catalyst and H2 gas. Understanding molecular bonding was really important here. We had to identify the sigma and pi bonds. So we know for any single bond, it's just one sigma bond. For the double bonds that were present in your ester, it's one sigma and one pi. Question 9, our lovely equilibrium question. And as predicted, they asked you to calculate the Kc of the equilibrium. That's the nicer of the two types of calculations, in my opinion, they can get for equilibrium. So I'm really happy that prediction came true for you guys this year. Into question 10 and 11, if you were someone that wasn't sure about doing question 3, your rates of reaction, or the calculation heavy pH calculations, 10 and 11 was there to really help you out. So happy to see organic chemistry came up again in another question. So like previous years, we see it in question 2, question 6, question 8, and it also came up as an optional part of question 10. Probably my second favourite area of the exam was question 11. Guys, half of the question you could have answered on radioactivity. Like, probably one of the shortest, easiest chapters on the whole exam, so that was fantastic. For you then to be able to do the other half of the question based on water chemistry, the dream. I'd say loads of students were really happy and picked to do question 11. Well, massive well done again, guys, for today. It's definitely not an easy subject, but you did it, so you can burn on your notes now and you can all put it behind you.